teen abortion, should parents be told? Should they have the right to know if their teenage daughter is after a termination? At the moment, the law says no, they shouldn't. But that could change as MPs are voting on this very issue later today. Tory MP Angela Watkinson is behind the bill, and she believes that parents should be informed. She points to the United States, where in something like 30-odd states, parents are told, and in those states, teen abortions are down, like something by a fifth, I think. So why aren't parents told here? Well, I'll tell you, it's because the Department of Health believes the duty of confidentiality owed to a child is exactly the same as that owed to an adult. In the UK, 40% of children under 15 are sexually active. That's the highest rate in the Western world. We also have the highest teenage abortion rate in Western Europe. Now, everyone agrees something needs to be done to address this problem, but would removing a child's right to privacy lead to fewer teen abortions or more unwanted babies, or, God forbid, a return to backstreet illegal terminations? So, should parents be informed if their little angel is up the duff and after a termination? And we'll hit the streets of London to find out.
If you're 13 and you want to have an abortion, you don't necessarily need to tell your mum, because it's your choice at the end of the day, and it's not really anything to do with your mum.
It depends on the relationship with the mother. If it's a good one, then yeah, but if they can't, you know, if they don't feel comfortable with telling them, then, you know, that's their decision.
If they're over 16, then fair enough, but under 16, I think the mothers should have a right to know.
It's not a mother's right to know. It's the same like it's not a daughter's right to know lots of things about her mother's life as well.
I think the best thing she could do is just be honest and tell her mother, if she respects her mother.
Me and my mum are like best friends, so, you know, I would tell my mum everything. I couldn't really see myself keeping a secret from her, so...
Mum can guide her on the right road, take her the right track.
But where will that track lead, we wonder? Anne, you're in favour of a change, aren't you?
I am, actually. I think, I accept that it's difficult, and I know you're going to have a real go at me over this, but I do think that it seems time and again we are debating things on this show where we're talking about we just have forgotten how to be parents. We're not good enough at being parents. We need to teach people how to be parents, because the ultimate responsibility for your offspring's behaviour rests with you at home. And so if we're going to expect parents to be parents, then I think you have to actually give them, you have to enable them to be parents. And if you've got a daughter, I haven't got daughters, so, you know, but if I had a daughter under 16, I would want to be a parent to her.
I bet you would.
And, yeah, I would. And I do think that if we're expecting that of everybody, then I think you've got to say, all right, you can't be a parent if all of these, you know, God knows what is happening behind your back.
And if you had a daughter and she was pregnant, I have no doubt at all, from what I know about you, that she would talk to you about it. I'll tell you why I'm against a change. If there was just one family in this country where mum and dad were rabid, pro-lifer, small c, conservative, profound religious beliefs, and they find out that their 15-year-old daughter, who hates and loathes their values, which is her prerogative, she gets pregnant, mum and dad are informed, and they make her have a child against her will.
Well, clearly that would be wrong. In that case, since the whole thing has to be debated out in the open with maybe the doctor, maybe there should be some sort of family counselling that you have to go to, so that you can be sure that the child isn't being forced to do something against their will.
How can you legislate for that? How can you be sure that the parents...
But the only right that they're asking for is the right to know what's happening. No further say in what happens beyond that, whether it's an abortion or not. You know.
So they chuck her out.
This is a fantasy you're talking about. You're assembling...
I'm not sure.
You're assembling a scenario that might not happen.
Might not happen, but the way we've got it at the moment is you've got a situation where a young person who's in a terribly distressed state can go to health professionals, get advice, get support, and deal with a pregnancy. You could say old enough to get pregnant, old enough to deal with it.
I think if a parent has a right to know, and then you know that the parent will eventually find out, that in some way acts as a deterrent, and I think that's the only reason.
It's not just the parent's right to know. I don't know whether the parent has a right. The parent has a duty. The parental duty is to care for that child, and they should be being reminded of that.
The child has no right of confidentiality at all. So the parent, they have no right to a personal secret, a profound secret. That's just taken away from them.
Not when it involves their health. It involves something that they should be discussing with their parents, with the family. Okay. I mean, we've got to shift the emphasis back to saying, OK, you know, it starts at home. And you can't do that if you're then going to cut off a parent's ability to parent.
But the parents, if it's all about parental good guidance from the parents, then surely the parents have already failed the child in the first place if they've run out and got up the duff in there. I mean that's a fairly disingenuous.
Yes, they clearly aren't black and white on that.
Yes.
But
The main thing about being a good child and, you know, treating your parents with respect is to keep everything that would hurt them from them. You know, it's part of your duty as a child to keep things like that secret. You know,
to have some. I think everybody's entitled to some privacy or secrecy. Ed, you are being extremely private at the moment with your thoughts, sitting there with your arms crossed.
Something to share? Out with it.
I'd like to talk to Justin about this. I'd like to open my heart to him. Because I honestly don't know the answer. And I sway each way. My instinct, I started out thinking...
You better make up your mind. You've got about 4 hours, 5
exactly.
hours to
I mean, my instinct is to favour the child's privacy. And I think that if you're looking at what the law is there for, it's to encourage children who get pregnant under the age of 16 to seek help and advice. And I suspect, my instinct tells me, that a lot of children who think their parents are going to be told will not seek advice, or will certainly seek advice very late in the day. And I'm one of those people...
35% of those abortions amongst the under 16, the parents didn't know.
And I'm one of those people who, for example, I'm very opposed to abortion at 28 weeks. I think our abortion laws are now completely out of sync with medical advances. So I would favour a law that encouraged children who were pregnant, when these are children, to seek help as early as possible. And I suspect they will seek help if they can be sure that mum and dad don't know. I also think that that guarantee, you know, we're talking about this in black and white. I suspect if you went to see a doctor, knowing that it was going to be kept confidential, after a couple of weeks of talking and so on,
might be able to talk
eventually,
anyway.
because you'd earn the trust of the doctor, you'd expect the doctor to protect you, and you might then pluck up the courage to talk to your mum and dad. If you think the minute I go to a doctor, mum's going to know, you probably won't go. So that's probably where I come down on. Having said all of that, you know, I do have a real problem, because I think Anne is quite right. We do talk more and more about the family, about parents taking responsibility, but at the same, so it's a mixed message for us to say we've got to support and encourage families, and then for the state to say, well, by the way, on something as important as this.
Okay. It's a complicated issue. Let's find out what your thoughts are. Do parents have a right to know when it comes to their teenage daughter wanting an abortion?